Hi everyone, and welcome to The Sleepy Scientist. I'm really happy you're here. Tonight, we're going to go on a calm and quiet trip to learn something amazing. So get comfy, take a deep breath, and let's enjoy this peaceful science story together. Before we start, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from and what time is it for you right now? If you like relaxing science videos, don't forget to tap the like button. Now let's begin.
Somewhere inside you, far beyond what eyes can see, lives a quiet alphabet. It doesn't speak in words or whisper in syllables, yet it tells the story of your every breath, your every heartbeat, your every blink beneath the sun. This alphabet is written not on paper, but on tiny spirals coiled deep inside each of your cell's letters, made of sugar and phosphate. Sentences crafted from 4 simple symbols: A, T, C, and Ga for adenine, T for thymine, C for cytosine, G for guanine. These are not just letters. They are the notes in the lullaby of life, the code that softly writes who you are. And somehow, in the hush of molecular silence, this tiny script knows how to build skin and fingers, to sculpt your voice, and even sketch the lines of your face. Before you're born, imagine this. You begin as one cell, just one. And inside that cell, this hidden alphabet is already humming quietly, unfurling instructions, as if reciting a recipe passed down from stars to soil to skin. That single cell divides over and over again until it becomes many. Each new cell receives a perfect copy of the script, like a librarian handing out matching books in a vast, ever-expanding library. Your body becomes a living novel made of trillions of cells, each reading the same story. Yet no two people have the exact same tale. Your DNA is yours alone. It's the handwritten note from the universe tucked into your heart, a letter sealed with cosmic intention. Half of it comes from your mother, half from your father, a braided poem stitched together at the moment you became possible. Some parts of your DNA are ancient techos passed down from ancestors who walked through ice, desert, forest. Their stories linger in the code, quiet shadows from long ago. Other parts are fresh, shaped by tiny changes over time, as if your story paused to inhale something new, then moved forward again. Let's drift deeper. If you could shrink yourself down, down, down into the core of a single cell, you'd see something wondrous, a nucleus, like a glowing pearl at the center. And inside that pearl, you'd find your chromosomes' 46 little bundles, soft and coiled. These are your storybooks. Unwind one, and it stretches impossibly long, like a ribbon of stars. Each chromosome is made of DNA, and each segment of DNA is called a gene. You might think of a gene as a paragraph, or maybe a stanza in a very long poem. Some genes tell your cells how to make proteins, tiny workers that build your bones, color your eyes, help your blood to flow, and your thoughts to flicker. But DNA is not just a builder, it's a memory keeper. In the quiet of your cells, DNA remembers what came before. It remembers how to form a heart, how to grow teeth, how to hear the hush of sound. It carries the recipe for dreaming, for blinking, for being. And though most of your DNA stays silent, their building never, speaking it, still waits there, a chorus of possible futures, humming softly. Now imagine this script being read every day inside your cells. Small machines, called RNA, slide along the DNA, like fingers tracing words on a scroll. They copy pieces of the story, just the parts needed, at that moment. These copies become messengers. They float out into the cell, carrying the recipe to tiny factories called ribosomes, which read the code and build proteins. It's a gentle ballet, a breathless symphony that never stops playing. As you sleep, as you wake, as you laugh and weep, the code keeps flowing. This is how wounds heal, how memories form, how your voice continues to rise when you sing. But DNA doesn't work alone. It's folded with care by proteins called histones, which wind it into tidy loops. And it's protected by special caps called telomeres, which wear down gently over time like the tips of shoelaces. As you age, these caps grow shorter, and your story slowly begins to fade, but not before it's written in full. There's something else. To dot your DNA is not fixed like stone. It listens. It responds. The life you live, what you eat, how you sleep, the joy you feel, or the sorrow you carry can mark the code with tiny chemical tags. This is called epigenetics. It's like placing bookmarks in your story, highlighting certain lines or softly folding the corner of a page. These marks don't change the letters, but they do change how they're read. So even though you were born with a certain code, your life helps shape how that code sings somewhere inside. You, a cell may read, grow strong, and it does. Another might read, slow down here, and it listens. This silent conversation happens endlessly millions of times each day. A silent script adapting gently to your world, even more quietly. This script connects you to others. You share almost all your DNA with every other person on Earth. In fact, you are 99.9% identical to everyone you meet. That tiny difference, just 0.1%, is what makes your hair curl, your skin tone glow, your smile rise the way it does. And yet, beneath all that, we are echoes of one another, bound by the same ancient song. Somewhere in your DNA is the memory of fish that once crawled from oceans, of birds that learned to fly, of primates that first walked upright and reached for the sky. These are not fairy tales. They are footnotes in your story, written in invisible ink. You can almost feel it now, that quiet alphabet turning its pages. Not with urgency, not with noise, just the soft hum of being alive. The hush of cells dividing, the whisper of your breath joining the ancient rhythm. So next time you look in the mirror, remember this. You are not just a face, or a name, or a moment. You are a living story, a poem written in spirals, a novel passed gently from hand to hand, across time, and the letters inside you, though silent, are still writing, still remembering, still singing your name. Always. Let's drift deeper now into the gentle chambers of this code that writes you. Beyond the spirals and the letters, there is rhythm. Not a loud one, not one you could tap your foot to, but something softer, like the tide moving beneath moonlight, like the hush of wind across tall grass. This rhythm is the way genes speak to one another, the timing of their quiet conversations. In the world of DNA, timing is everything. Some genes only speak once, during the tender bloom of your development in the womb. Others whisper daily, guiding your sleep, your hunger, your healing. It is as if inside each cell, a conductor raises a baton and signals, now, and the music begins. But the instruments don't play alone. Just as an orchestra needs a stage, DNA needs an environment, a home in which to perform its story. This is the cell. Each cell is like a tiny planet, and the DNA is its ancient map. Floating around this map are enzymes, proteins, coiled strands of RNA, all moving slowly and surely, like dancers responding to a quiet, invisible beat. And like dancers, they never step out of line when a mistake happens, when a note is missed, or a dancer slips the cell, has ways to correct the rhythm, to gently rewrite the moment. These are repair enzymes, soft guardians that sweep along the spiral, checking for little cracks in the story. If they find one, they mend it quietly, delicately, like a librarian restoring a torn page in a book that must never be lost. Still, not all damage can be undone. Sometimes the script changes. A letter might be swapped, or a sentence duplicated. These are mutations, natural edits in the story. Some are harmless, like a misplaced comma. Others are gifts, leading to new traits, new strengths. A few are dangerous, dark ripples in the flow of life that can cause disease. But even then, the body listens, it adapts, it tries. Within each of us is a kind of resilience, born from billions of years of evolution, a wisdom woven into the very grammar of life. And what of that evolution? Picture the vast river of time flowing backward. Your story began long before you, back through generations, through your grandparents, through early ancestors who crossed seas and survived storms, back further still, through fur and feather, scale and fin. Every creature that ever lived left behind little echoes in the language of DNA. These echoes are not ghosts. They are instructions carried across epochs, small memories tucked inside the code. Some of these memories still sing. There are genes in you that once helped ancient humans survive hunger, cold, darkness. Today, they may sit quietly or pulse faintly, reminding your body how to respond to stress, how to store energy, how to find rhythm in the chaos of modern life. And some memories sleep, silent and broken genes that once served a purpose, now long gone. In Wales, scientists have found traces of leg bones written into their DNA, leftovers from when their ancestors walked on land. In humans, there are remnants of tails, of fur, even of the scent-marking genes our animal cousins still use. These are the shadows of the past, folded gently into who we are. But DNA is not a relic. It is alive with possibility. In certain places, scientists have found jumping genes, segments of DNA that can move around, creating new combinations, rewriting little verses. It's as though the script occasionally stirs, rephrasing itself in the quiet hope of something new. And in some parts of the genome, there is mystery. Long stretches of DNA that don't seem to code for anything at all. For years, scientists called this junk, but now they whisper more respectfully. Perhaps these stretches are not useless, but rather unread chapters waiting for their time. Within your own cells, these mysteries remain. Some genes wait decades before they wake. Others are turned off forever, read only once in the embryo's earliest hours. The body is like a symphony where only the needed instruments play at the right time. In the cells of your eye, genes for vision are loud and clear. In your liver, the song is different, rich with the rhythm of detox, of digestion, of quiet filtration. And in your brain, the code composes something rare, thought, yes. Even your thoughts are built from molecules' tiny exchanges, sparked by proteins, carried on the shoulders of signals built by the DNA you inherited. That code doesn't just shape your body. It gives rise to mood, to memory, to the gentle surge of wonder you feel when you gaze at stars or listen to rain. Somewhere in the dance of neurotransmitters and ions, DNA helps craft your inner voice, your fears, your joy. The body and mind are not separate. They are both written from the same ink, but DNA also listens outward. Your cells can't see, but they can sense. When you are exposed to light or warmth or music, certain genes awaken. When you fall ill, new pages are turned, new proteins written to fight. When you grieve, your body changes. When you laugh, it listens. The world leaves fingerprints on your code not by changing its letters, but by choosing which ones are read. This is epigenetics, again, the poetry of how your life shapes your biology. Imagine this. Two people can have the same genetic sequence, but live entirely different lives. One filled with softness, rest, and sunlight. Another burdened by sorrow, by hunger, by fear, and slowly their bodies begin to tell different stories. The same page read in two voices, two tempos. This is how identical twins grow to look different. How experience becomes part of biology. How emotion becomes chemistry. You are not just the letters you were born with. You are also the wind that shaped their pages. Now let's float gently to another wonder, the genome as a map. Scientists have charted this map. In 2003, the Human Genome Project gave us a first draft of humanity's entire DNA. It was like peeking inside the deepest library ever built. Each person's genome holds about 3 billion letters. If you were to read them aloud, one by one, it would take you nearly a century without stopping. And yet, every one of your cells holds this code, neatly tucked and folded, never tangled, always ready. This map is not a fixed road. It is a landscape of potential, and it's different in everyone. Some people carry genes that help them thrive at high altitudes, or resist certain diseases, or metabolize food in unique ways. Others carry risks, gentle warnings written quietly, like footnotes in a long novel. Your genome is not a prediction, it is a possibility. And with each passing year, science uncovers more. Not just genes for height or color or health, but deeper questions. What makes us love? What causes us to remember? Can a gene guide kindness? Can a mutation cause creativity? These questions don't have simple answers. DNA is not destiny, but it is a doorway beginning. So as we rest here in the spiral of thought and science, remember this. Inside you is a map, a memory, a rhythm. It does not shout, it does not rush. It simply turns, page by page, moment by moment, as you live the life only you were meant to live. And with every breath, the story continues. Now let us wander gently into the closing folds of this quiet tale, the tale of the alphabet inside you. Picture the spiral once more, winding like a staircase through a soft blue dusk, each step a letter, each letter a whisper. You've seen how it shapes your hands, your heartbeat, your memories. You've felt how it listens to your life, responding with silence or song. And now we ask a deeper question, not just how DNA writes your story, but why it continues to do so. The answer lies not only in cells or strands, but in the long arc of time, and in the longing we all carry to be remembered, to belong, to be understood by something greater than ourselves. DNA may not speak in words, but it holds an ancient intention to continue. All around you, life is copying itself. Leaves unfurling in spring carry DNA that remembers winter. Seeds sleeping in the earth wait for warmth, holding codes that know how to rise. Insects, birds, beasts, people, each one a soft retelling of the same old alphabet, with new flourishes and pauses, new rhythm and tone. It is the story that never stops being written. Your DNA came from a long line of others, and if passed on, it becomes part of someone else's beginning. That is one way your story continues in the spiral handed from parent to child, like a lantern lighting the path forward. But there are other ways, too. Even if your DNA ends with you, its echoes remain in the world you've touched, the way you've moved, loved, healed, helped. All of it leaves behind small imprints on others, and those imprints change their chemistry, their genes, their lives. We are never separate. We are the weather inside one another's lives. Your laughter may ripple through someone else's blood pressure. Your kindness may soften the stress in another's heart, changing the way their DNA is read, if only for a moment. And so your story moves outward, even if the spiral rests. This is how DNA lives in time. It is more than a static book. It is a living manuscript, always responding, always being revised by life. Epigenetics has shown us that even grief can ripple through generations. The pain of war, famine, migration, or love, unspoken, can leave small marks, like fingerprints on the spiral, passed from parent to child, like shadows of experiences never lived, but still somehow known. And still, DNA adapts. It keeps moving forward, folding old lessons into new forms, hoping to do a little better each time. There is something gentle about this, a kind of forgiveness built into biology, a way for life to try again. And yet, even as DNA works to pass itself forward, it is not greedy. Much of your code is shared with other creatures. You share about 60% of your genes with a banana, more than 80% with a mouse, and nearly 99% with chimpanzees. This overlap is not a mistake. It is a reminder that life is not a competition, but a family. We are branches from the same root, speaking in dialects of the same language. In a bird's feather, in a fish's fin, in a flower seed, the spiral sings, "You are not alone. You never have been." Some scientists dream of editing this spiral, now changing the code, choosing the pages. Technologies like CRISP allow us to rewrite genes, to remove disease, to add new traits, to guide evolution with a careful hand. It is both miracle and mystery, for with each edit comes responsibility. What does it mean to choose what someone will be, to shape a future before it begins? These questions are still unfolding, like chromosomes in the light of dawn. And even in this, the spiral remains quiet, patient. It watches, as it always has, waiting to be read with care. And what of the future? As science walks forward, we begin to imagine new possibilities, storing data inside DNA, crafting medicines tuned precisely to one person's code, or even growing organs from a single reprogrammed cell. These are not dreams, they are emerging realities. Yet, the deeper we go into the code, the more we realize that the spiral is not just about survival. It is about memory. It is about meaning. It is about connection. In some indigenous traditions, DNA is not just a molecule, it is a sacred thread, tying one generation to the next, binding humans to earth, sky, and spirit. These traditions speak of bloodlines not just as ancestry, but as responsibility to honor the gifts written into you, to carry them well, to leave them better than you found them. Science and spirit may speak in different tongues, but here they nod to one another in understanding. So now, as we return from the spiral's heart, let us remember, your DNA is not just a sequence. It is a song that began long before you and continues beyond you. It has been sung by coral in deep seas, by wolves under northern lights, by grandmothers who held you once in tired arms, and by children who are yet to dream your name. You may never see your own DNA. You may never touch it or read it line by line, but you feel it every day in the curve of your hands, in the way your wounds heal, in the comfort of your voice when you speak to someone you love. And though the letters are invisible, they glow within you like stardust, like a lantern carried from cave to city, from forest to sky. Some night, you might sit under stars and feel something stir inside, some longing, some hush that is your spiral, remembering where it came from, remembering it was born in darkness and in light, in fire and in water, in silence and in song, remembering that it belongs not only to you, but to all life, past and yet to be. You are the alphabet's latest verse. You are the echo of countless lives and the start of countless more. And even when you are still, when breath slows and sleep drapes the world like snow, your cells are listening, turning pages, humming softly beneath your skin. The story does not end. It never does. It only drifts forward, gentle as a sigh, written in spirals, sung in silence, always becoming. There is a memory inside you that does not speak in words or images. It does not flicker like a dream or echo like a conversation. Instead, it grows, slowly, patiently, like roots beneath the soil. This is the memory that grows with time, the memory your body carries without knowing, the memory your cells shape without trying. It is the kind of remembering that happens without effort, the quiet kind that follows light, water, gravity, and need. And though you may not feel it, this memory is alive. It pulses in your bones, in the rhythm of your breath, in the very way you learn to walk, to speak, to love. Imagine this. When you were a child, your brain was wide opener garden, waiting for seeds. Every sound, every scent, every glimpse of a smile planted something. The neurons inside Eutha, tiny threads that carry thought, reached toward one another like vines. When two neurons connected, they formed a synapse, a whispering place where electricity could leap from one to the other. And the more they connected, the easier the leap became. This is how memory begins, not as a picture or a sentence, but as a path, a road carved softly into the mind by use, by repetition, by emotion. At birth, you had billions more neurons than you would later need. Your brain was a blooming forest, but as you grew, your brain began to prune. It trimmed the pathways you didn't use. It kept only what you needed. Like a gardener cutting back overgrowth to let the strong branches rise, your brain shaped itself through experience. This shaping is memory, not just what you recall, but how you become. Let's drift into this garden now, deeper and deeper. Every time you touch something new, a signal flows. Sensory information travels up through your body into the brain, where it is sorted, filed, and, if it matters, stored. But the brain does not store memories like books on shelves. It stores them like patterns of wind, like trails through tall grass. Each memory is a network, a constellation of neurons that fire together. And when they fire together often, the trail becomes clearer, the pattern easier to find. Neurons that fire together, wire together, scientists say. That is the law of growing memory, but not all memories are equal. Some grow tall and bright, standing like trees in the forest of your mind. These are the memories woven with emotion, a moment of joy, a whisper of fear, a sudden laugh. The reason is simple. Emotion releases chemicals like norepinephrine and dopamine that tell the brain this matters. Keep this, so the brain does. It wraps that memory in stronger connections, like bark around a branch. Memory also listens to rhythm. Repetition is its soft music. The more you practice something, the stronger the memory grows. A pianist plays scales until their hands remember. A child recites words until they bloom into language. A person remembers a face, a place, a name, not by will, but by soft, repeated noticing. Memory grows through rhythm, not force, and yet, even in rest, memory does not sleep at night. When your body settles and dreams begin, your brain begins to whisper to itself. It replays moments like waves smoothing stones on a shore. This is called memory consolidation. During sleep, especially deep sleep and REM, the brain sifts through the day. Some memories fade, others are pressed deeper, made stronger. In this quiet night work, the hippocampus plays a gentle role. Like a librarian, it decides what to keep and what to let go. It moves some memories into long-term storage. Others drift away like fog, so memory is not just something you do. It is something your body does for you. But what does it mean to grow a memory? Think of a tree. Each branch begins as a bud, a soft intention. As it grows, it strengthens, thickens, finds light. A memory begins as a signal, a thought, a scent, a sound. If it matters, it sends out connections, finds other neurons, and binds with them. The more it is used, the stronger it becomes. Over time, that memory may branch into others' associations, reflections, echoes. Soon, a single moment becomes part of a forest. And when you remember it, the forest lights up again. That is the wonder of memory. It is not just storage, it is growth. Let's drift deeper still. Even your muscles remember, not in thought, but in form. When you learn to ride a bike, to swim, to dance, your brain and body speak together. The cerebellum and the basal ganglia, hidden, quiet structures, record the movement, and once learned, the movement stays. This is procedural memory. It does not require effort. It waits quietly in the background, ready to rise. You do not need to recall how to walk each morning. Your body remembers. It grows the memory through action, then tucks it gently into the folds of the self. There is also another kind of memory, one that hides in the edges. implicit memory. This kind does not feel like remembering. It feels like instinct, like knowing without knowing why. A smell that brings calm, a song that brings sorrow, a room that feels familiar. These memories grow in the shadows of the mind, shaped by experience, emotion, repetition. They are not conscious, but they guide us just the same. And what of forgetting? Even that is part of growth. The brain cannot hold every detail, so it lets go. It clears the underbrush to let the sunlight through. Forgetting is not failure, it is grace. It is the mind making room for what matters. And sometimes, what is forgotten still leaves a trace, a feeling, a tone, a softness. That too is memory reshaped. But memory does not only live in one place. It is spread across the brain, woven through different regions. The visual cortex holds images. The auditory cortex holds sounds. The prefrontal cortex helps plan and recall. It is as though memory is not a single flower, but a whole garden, with roots that reach in every direction. When you remember a loved one's voice, your mind gathers sounds, emotions, time, and image. The memory grows from many seeds. Now let your thoughts settle like snow. Let the idea rise gently. You are a landscape shaped by memory, not just of what you recall, but of what you have become. Every kindness received, every lesson learned, every sorrow survived, all of it planted something. And though you may not remember every detail, the growth remains. Your mind is not a vault. It is a field, a breathing place where time blooms. And even now, as you sit quietly, your brain is growing new connections. With each new thought, each gentle word, a signal flows, a path begins. Memory is not just the past. It is the way you prepare for the future. It is the way you recognize home, or hope, or healing. It is how you know what you love. So, if you ever feel lost, or if the memories fade, remember this: beneath it all, your brain still grows. It grows with light, with attention, with rest, with care. It remembers how to begin again, even when the forest seems bare. And somewhere, deep inside, your mind still whispers your name, still traces your steps, still grows the story of you. Petal by petal, root by root, breath by breath. This is the memory that grows with time, the quiet memory of being alive. Let us move gently now beneath the canopy of thought and deeper into the soil where memory anchors itself. It is here, in the hidden places of your brain, that experience and biology meet like river and stone, shaping one another across time. When you learn something new, whether it is how to tie a knot or how to forgive, a cascade of changes begins. Your neurons stretch out, seeking partners. Synapses strengthen, proteins are formed, structures shift. This is neuroplasticity, the brain's quiet ability to change its shape, to bend without breaking, to grow where life calls it to grow. Even in adulthood, even in aging, the brain continues this soft remodeling. It is never fixed, it listens. To what you give it practice, attention, restand, builds accordingly. The memory that grows with time is not just memory of events, but of change itself. In the hippocampus, a seahorse-shaped structure tucked deep within, new neurons are born even into old age. This region is like a gardener with gentle hands. It gathers the seeds of your days and decides where to plant them. When you meet someone new, when you travel, when you feel office, is where your brain chooses to remember. And yet, Memory is not only for storing, it is for weaving. When you recall a moment, you do not pull it from a drawer. You rebuild it from pieces scattered across your senses. Memory is recreation, not retrieval. This is why memories can change, soften, or shift over time. They are living things growing with you. Now consider the role of space. Spatial memory, how you remember where you are, how to return home, how to navigate a room in the dark lives in place cells and grid cells. These specialized neurons light up when you are in a specific location. Your brain carries a map of your surroundings, constantly updating it with each step, each glance. And with this map comes emotional coloring. A hallway is not just a hallway. It may carry echoes of laughter or loneliness, and your brain holds that feeling close. We remember places not only because we were there, but because of how we felt there. Memory also grows in relationship. The faces we remember most clearly are often the ones tied to emotion. This is not coincidence. When you feel connection, love, trust, sorrow, the amygdala, the brain's emotional center, works closely with the hippocampus. It marks the moment as meaningful. The connection deepens the root. So when someone speaks your name with tenderness, or you hold a hand that feels familiar, that memory settles more deeply than facts or dates ever could. The memory that grows with time is, at its core, emotional. And yet, memory can also be shared. Families, communities, even cultures carry collective memory stories passed down, traditions repeated, rituals that anchor identity. These memories live not in neurons alone, but in gestures, language, food, and music. A song your grandmother sang may live in your heart long after her voice is gone. A scent from your childhood kitchen may bloom unexpectedly decades later, bringing with it warmth, safety, or longing. These are not mere details. They are roots that bind one generation to the next. They grow not only in minds, but in hearts. Let's drift now into the mystery of time. Memory does not flow in straight lines. The mind skips, lingers, loops back. A single smell can pull you years into the past. A quiet room can awaken the voice of someone no longer near. This is because memory is not stored like film, but like light refracted through glossalways, shaped by the present moment. When you recall something, you bring it into the now, and in doing so, it changes. Memory is not just the past, it is the way the past lives in the present. Some memories fade. With time, others grow stronger. The ones we revisit, the ones we tell ourselves again and again, become part of our identity. These are autobiographical memories. They do more than remind us. They shape us. When you remember yourself as brave, kind, or curious, you act accordingly. Your memories write the story of who you believe you are. And over time, that belief becomes a guide. So memory is not passive, it is active. It builds the self, word by word, moment by moment. But memory also serves a gentle purpose. It helps us imagine. The same brain structures used to remember the past are used to envision the future. This is called prospection. When you plan, when you dream, when you hope, your brain reaches into its memories and reshapes them. It asks, what might happen next? What could I become? In this way, memory grows forward as well as back. It is not only the root, but the seed. Pause now to think of those we love who forget, Alzheimer's disease and other forms of dementia gently erase the forest of memory. The neurons die, the paths become unclear, the names and faces blur. And yet, even when memory falters, emotion remains. A hand held, a song played, a scent familiar. These can stir a response, a smile, a tear. It is a reminder that memory is not only cognition, it is feeling, rhythm, presence. Even when the garden fades, something soft still blooms. And what of the memories we choose to let go? Forgiveness is a kind of forgetting, not of the event, but of its weight. Letting go can be an act of healing. The brain can learn to reframe, to place pain in a different light, to grow beyond the shape of old wounds. This too is memory's work, not just to store, but to transform, to compost grief into grace, loss into wisdom, endings into new beginnings. Now, consider how silence helps memory grow. In stillness, the brain organizes. In quiet, it reflects. Moments of rest, walking alone, gazing at clouds, listening to soft music. These are when the mind reshuffles its stories, when memory roots deeper. Our busy lives rarely allow this pause, but memory, like any living thing, needs space. It grows best in calm, in presence, in peace. You are carrying more memory than you know, not just of facts, but of feelings, of people, of dreams. The way your fingers move when you write, the way your voice softens when you comfort someone, the way your body curls toward sleep each night. These are not habits, they are memories, grown gently over time. So when you feel scattered or uncertain or lost in the noise of the world, remember this: inside you is a forest of knowing, a deep, quiet network of stories that belong only to you. And with each step, each breath, each act of care, you grow that forest wider, stronger, more luminous. The memory that grows with time is not always loud. It does not always announce itself, but it is always there, blooming in the shadows, waiting to be felt. Now, let us return to the memory that grows with time, not to explain it further, but to feel it more deeply. Let us walk softly through the inner forest, where each branch holds a moment, where each leaf carries a quiet trace of someone you once were. These memories are not simply stored, they live, they shift as you shift. The memory of a first snowfall may glitter more brightly with each retelling, while the ache of a farewell may soften, dulled by kindness and years. What once felt unbearable may one day feel like a stone worn smooth by river water. This is not forgetting. This is memory reshaping itself to fit the person you are becoming. And always, always, it continues to grow. There are memories written into your gestures, the way your eyes crinkle when you smile, passed down from someone who once held you close, the rhythm of your speech, echoing the voices you grew up around, the scent of a place that no longer exists, yet lives on in the way your heart stirs when the wind shifts just right. Some memories do not belong to a single moment. They live in atmosphere, in tone, in pause. These are ambient memories, the ones you cannot name but still feel. The memory of being safe, the memory of being seen, the memory of standing in golden light just before sunset and knowing you were exactly where you needed to be. These memories are not bound to words. They are often unspoken, stored deep in the body. When you hear a lullaby from long ago, or trace your fingers over something familiar, something old. The body remembers, even if the mind cannot recall the details. A shiver, a sigh, a breath held longer than usual. These are the echoes of memory, rising from where they've waited quietly, respectfully. You are more than your recollections. You are your body's quiet archive, where memory grows even without your knowing. Let us pause to consider how memory shapes meaning. When you look back on your life, you do not see every moment. You see the moments that shimmerth ones marked by beauty, change, connection, or pain. These become the anchor points, the lights around which your story orbits. Memory is not about completeness, it is about coherence. The brain, ever the gentle narrator, selects, edits, arranges. It builds a version of your life that you can hold in your hands, something that helps you understand who you are, where you've been, and where you're going. And this version grows, too. With each new day, each new insight, the story rewrites itself, not because the past changes, but because you do. In this way, memory is a dialogue between then and now. The child you once were speaks to the adult you've become. The sorrows you carried long ago whisper to the strength you hold today. And the dreams you had as a teenager flicker in the ambitions you nurture quietly even now. Every time you recall, you revise. You add tenderness where there was once confusion. You add forgiveness where there was once regret. You add distance where there was once pain. The past becomes something you can live with, something you can love, something that continues to shape you in ways both seen and unseen. Now, imagine a memory you've returned to many times. Perhaps a walk with someone you miss. Perhaps a quiet victory you never spoke aloud. Each time you revisit it, you may see something new, not because the event has changed, but because your heart has. Your memory grows with you. It does not stay fixed. It moves like shadow and light through the forest, always finding new ways to dance across the familiar paths. And what of memories roll in kindness? When we remember suffering, our own or another's, we become softer. We become more careful in how we speak, more patient in how we wait, more gentle in how we hold space for others. Memory gives rise to compassion, not just by reminding us of pain, but by showing us what healed it, the touch that comforted, the voice that stayed, the moment when silence meant safety. These are the memories that guide us in how to love. We do not always need words. We need only the trace of feeling, the echo of something good, something true. Even in solitude, memory keeps us company. A song hummed under your breath, not because you chose to remember it, but because it remembered you, the face of someone you've not seen in years, rising behind your eyelids just as you close them. A moment of laughter shared long ago, still warming you like tea. These are the memories that return not to ask for attention, but to offer it. They say, "You lived this, it mattered. You mattered." They do not shout. They settle gently beside you, like a familiar blanket on a cold day. And finally, let us think of memory not as something we carry, but as something that carries us. When the world changes too quickly, when the future feels uncertain, memory offers ground. It reminds you of who you have been, of what you have survived, of the quiet strength that brought you to this moment. It reminds you that you have known joy, that you have known love, that you have seen beauty even in sorrow. And this remembering is not small, it is sacred. It is the thread that weaves your days into meaning. The memory that grows with time is not just an echo of the past, it is a companion to the present. It is a guide toward the future. It grows in silence and in song, in dreams and in daylight, in solitude and in touch. It grows when you least expect it, through laughter, through loss, through change. And though you may not feel it every day, it is there stretching quietly beneath the surface of your life, like roots beneath the earth, deep and strong. So the next time you feel adrift, return to this. You are not lost. You are held by every moment that has made you. You are carried by every memory that chose to stay. And as time passes, you are not fading. You are growing wiser, kinder, more whole. You are becoming not someone else, but more deeply yourself. This is the memory that grows with time. A living thing, a quiet gift, a steady light that never stops unfolding. There is a shape that lives inside you, ancient and unseen, coiled gently like a whisper in the dark. It is the spiral, not the spiral of confusion, nor the spiral of descent, but the spiral of becoming. It rests within every cell, woven into your DNA, your breath, your bones. And though you may not see it, this spiral binds you to yourself, to others, to the stars that sang long before you arrived. It is the spiral that binds us, quietly, persistently, patiently, as time moves forward in its soft and steady way. In nature, the spiral is everywhere. It curls in the shells of snails and in the horns of rams, in the unfurling of a fern and the swirl of a hurricane. It twists through galaxies and through the tiniest whirlpools of water. But nowhere is it more intimate, more sacred than in the double helix of your DNA. This spiral is not wide like a galaxy, but impossibly small, so small it hides within the heart of a single cell. And yet within it lives the story of everything you are. Two strands, winding gently around one another, held together by invisible bridges. Each step a message, each turn a possibility. This spiral is not chaos, it is order dressed in grace. Its shape allows for strength, for stability, for symmetry, but it also allows for change. The spiral can twist tighter or unwind gently. It can adapt, evolve, repair. It is this quiet dance that lets life endure across time. It is not a rigid structure. It is a breath, a movement, a promise that the past can stretch forward into the future without breaking. Now imagine the first time this spiral took shape, not in you, but in the long ago waters of Earth's beginning. Perhaps in a warm tide pool, where lightning met molecules, where chance met chemistry. There, something stirred. Molecules joined hands, formed strands, folded into spirals. The earliest code was born. Not with thought, not with purpose, but with potential. And from that single spark came replication, then variation, then life. The spiral began to write. You are not the first to carry this spiral. Every creature before you held it in some form. In bacteria, the spiral is simple, but still it binds. In plants and animals, in fungi and coral, the spiral is more elaborate, yet still familiar. We all inherit this shape, passed like a flame from one generation to the next. The spiral connects us, not just biologically, but rhythmically. It is a shared pulse, a common breath. Let's drift into the structure now, gently. The DNA spiral consists of two strands, each made of a sugar phosphate backbone. Between them lie the base pairs adenine with thymine, cytosine with guanine linked like rungs on a ladder, twisted ever so slightly. These base pairs form the language of life, 4 letters creating infinite combinations. But it is the spiral that gives them space to belong. Without the twist, the code could not be read. Without the curve, it is as though the spiral is both form and function and embrace that allows the message to speak. But the spiral is not limited to DNA. Within your ears, tiny spiraled structures called cochlea help you hear. They translate vibrations into sound, letting you listen to music, to voices, to the wind. In your fingertips, the spirals of your fingerprints mark you as uniquely yourself. Yet echo patterns seen in flowers and seashells, spirals guide blood through your heart, send signals along nerves, shape the curls of your hair and the lines of your skin. They are the geometry of life's quiet poetry. Even in the stars, the spiral appears. Our galaxy, the Milky Way, spins in a vast, slow spiral, arms reaching out across light years, drawing stars and planets and dust into its embrace. And within that spiral, our solar system drifts, and within that system, the Earth turns, and on Earth, life swirls and coils, always returning to that gentle curve. From macro to micro, the spiral repeats itself, a signature written across the universe, and still, its most personal form lies within you. Inside your cells, the spiral must be folded and coiled even further. If unwrapped, the DNA in a single cell would stretch for 2 meters, and yet it fits inside a nucleus so small it cannot be seen without a microscope. It does this through spiraling, through looping, through folding. Histone proteins help organize it, forming chromatin that bends and bends again until it fits. This spiral within spirals is not clutter, it is care. It is the body's way of holding something infinite within something finite. The spiral also allows for replication. When a cell divides, the spiral unwinds. Each strand becomes a template, guiding the creation of its twin. This quiet unwinding and rebuilding happens trillions of times as you grow, heal, age. It is not a perfect process. Sometimes errors slip in, sometimes mutations occur, but even then, the spiral adapts, it learns, it continues, and so, in every cell of your body, the spiral is at work. Not loudly, not with urgency, but with constancy. It does not need to be seen to be known. It simply continues spinning, folding, guiding, remembering. It binds not just molecules, but meaning. It is the shape of connection. When you think of yourself, your body, your mind, your story, that it is all held together by this spiral. You are not built from bricks, but from curves. You are not a straight line. You are a flow, a winding path, a question that loops back on itself, and in that shape is resilience. The ability to return, to rebuild, to begin again. There is something comforting about this, to know that within you and around you, the same pattern repeats, that the fern and the fingerprint, the galaxy and the snail shell, all echo the same form, that your DNA is not only a code, but a connection to everything that grows, spins, pulses, lives. The spiral binds us to one another as well. Though our DNA differs slightly from person to person, its structure is shared. The way it coils, the way it replicates, the way it sings. This is common ground. Beneath our languages, our skin, our memories, we carry the same spiral. It is a quiet truth, but a powerful one. It reminds us that difference is surface. The spiral goes deeper. It goes everywhere. So, the next time you feel alone, or separate, or uncertain, close your eyes and imagine the spiral. Let it unwind softly. In your mind, let it remind you of what holds you together, of what connects you to life. Let it curl gently through your thoughts, not as a symbol of confusion, but of grace. The spiral is not a maze. It is a path inward and outward all at once. It is the shape of you, of us, of everything still becoming. Let us continue now, deeper into the spiral, not as observers, but as those who carry it, those who live its rhythm without ever needing to name it. The spiral is not simply a shape inside you. It is a pattern through which your life unfolds. In every breath you take, every memory you form, every wound you heal, the spiral is at work, subtle, unbroken, essential. And though it wins invisibly, its effects are visible everywhere. When you laugh, when you sleep, when you grow, the spiral supports you. It binds the molecules that shape your thoughts, the proteins that carry your emotions, the very architecture of who you are. Now imagine a moment of healing. You scrape your skin, blood rushes to the surface, white cells arrive, signals are sent, and beneath it all, inside each cell, the spiral wakes. It unwinds just enough, opens its pages, and reads the recipe for repair. Enzymes are made, proteins are built, new cells are born. And when the work is done, the spiral folds itself again, as if nothing happened, quiet, steady, waiting. It does not rush, it does not panic. It simply does what it has always done. Remember, respond, rebuild. This is how life continues, not through noise, but through rhythm. The spiral's wisdom lies in its consistency. It follows a pattern that has never truly changed, even as the world has. It bent through the ice ages and across the tropics, through the lungs of dinosaurs and the fins of fish, through the hands of sculptors and the hearts of poets. Its code has shifted. Yes, small edits here, soft adjustments there, but its form remains. Like a song passed down through generations, with new instruments, new voices, but the same melody at its heart. And within you, this melody plays. Inside your mitochondria, which are tiny powerhouses within your cells, another spiral resides. Mitochondrial DNA, smaller, circular, independent, traces back not to your parents equally, but only through your mother. It is the spiral of maternal memory, passed through egg cells, undisturbed by fathers, carried across time like a secret flame. Every cell in your body carries it. It connects you not only to your mother, but to her mother, and hers before her, thousands of generations, unbroken. You are, in this quiet way, a living continuation of women who once walked through ancient forests, crossed wide deserts, sang to the moon in languages long forgotten. This is not mythology. This is science, whispered with reverence. Even in the way you grow, the spiral guides you. During early development, as the embryo begins to form, cells divide and move, curling around invisible axes. Limbs spiral as they take shape. Organs twist into place. The heart loops, the intestines coil, the brain folds. All of this movement follows the spiral not randomly, but precisely. Biologists call it chirality, the handedness of molecules, the direction of twist. The spiral moves left or right, and that tiny decision shapes the structure of your entire body. It is the quiet compass inside life itself. But the spiral is not only within you, it is mirrored in your experiences. Think of how you learn, not in straight lines, but in loops. You circle back to ideas, return to memories, revisit questions. With each cycle, you understand more deeply, more clearly. Growth is spiral-shaped. Healing is spiral-shaped. It may feel like you're moving in circles, but in truth, you are rising each time, like a shell adding rings, like a fern unfurling toward the light, like a planet orbiting a star, ever still, always slightly ahead of where you were before. In nature, the spiral is everywhere. It curls in the shells of snails and in the horns of rams, in the unfurling of a fern and the swirl of a hurricane. It twists through galaxies and through the tiniest whirlpools of water. But nowhere is it more intimate, more sacred than in the double helix of your DNA. This spiral is not wide like a galaxy, but impossibly small, so small it hides within the heart of a single cell. And yet within it lives the story of everything you are. Two strands, winding gently around one another, held together by invisible bridges. Each step a message, each turn a possibility. This spiral is not chaos, it is order dressed in grace. Its shape allows for strength, for stability, for symmetry, but it also allows for change. The spiral can twist tighter or unwind gently. It can adapt, evolve, repair. It is this quiet dance that lets life endure across time. It is not a rigid structure. It is a breath, a movement, a promise that the past can stretch forward into the future without breaking. Now imagine the first time this spiral took shape, not in you, but in the long ago waters of Earth's beginning. Perhaps in a warm tide pool where lightning met molecules, where chance met chemistry. There, something stirred. Molecules joined hands, formed strands, folded into spirals. The earliest code was born. Not with thought, not with purpose, but with potential. And from that single spark came replication, then variation, then life. The spiral began to write. You are not the first to carry this spiral. Every creature before you held it in some form. In bacteria, the spiral is simple, but still it binds. In plants and animals, in fungi and coral, the spiral is more elaborate, yet still familiar. We all inherit this shape, passed like a flame from one generation to the next. The spiral connects us, not just biologically, but rhythmically. It is a shared pulse, a common breath. Let's drift into the structure now, gently. The DNA spiral consists of two strands, each made of a sugar-phosphate backbone. Between them lie the base pairs adenine with thymine, cytosine with guanine linked like rungs on a ladder, twisted ever so slightly. These base pairs form the language of life. 4 letters creating infinite combinations, but it is the spiral that gives them space to belong. Without the twist, the code could not be read. Without the curve, it is as though the spiral is both form and function and embrace that allows the message to speak. But the spiral is not limited to DNA. Within your ears, tiny spiraled structures called cochlea help you hear. They translate vibrations into sound, letting you listen to music, to voices, to the wind. In your fingertips, the spirals of your fingerprints mark you as uniquely yourself. yet echo patterns seen in flowers and seashells. Spirals guide blood through your heart, send signals along nerves, shape the curls of your hair and the lines of your skin. They are the geometry of life's quiet poetry. Even in the stars, the spiral appears. Our galaxy, the Milky Way, spins in a vast, slow spiral, arms reaching out across light years, drawing stars and planets and dust into its embrace. And within that spiral, our solar system drifts, and within that system, the Earth turns, and on Earth, life swirls and coils, always returning to that gentle curve. From macro to micro, the spiral repeats itself, a signature written across the universe, and still, its most personal form lies within you. Inside your cells, the spiral must be folded and coiled even further. If unwrapped, the DNA in a single cell would stretch for 2 meters, and yet it fits inside a nucleus so small it cannot be seen without a microscope. It does this through spiraling, through looping, through folding. Histone proteins help organize it, forming chromatin that bends and bends again until it fits. This spiral within spirals is not clutter, it is care. It is the body's way of holding something infinite within something finite. The spiral also allows for replication. When a cell divides, the spiral unwinds. Each strand becomes a template, guiding the creation of its twin. This quiet unwinding and rebuilding happens trillions of times as you grow, heal, age. It is not a perfect process. Sometimes errors slip in. Sometimes mutations occur. But even then, the spiral adapts. It learns. It continues. And so, in every cell of your body, the spiral is at work. Not loudly, not with urgency, but with constancy. It does not need to be seen to be known. It simply continues spinning, folding, guiding, remembering. It binds not just molecules, but meaning. It is the shape of connection. When you think of yourself, your body, your mind, your story, that it is all held together by this spiral. You are not built from bricks, but from curves. You are not a straight line. You are a flow, a winding path, a question that loops back on itself. And in that shape is resilience, the ability to return, to rebuild, to begin again. There is something comforting about this, to know that within you and around you, the same pattern repeats, that the fern and the fingerprint, the galaxy and the snail shell all echo the same form, that your DNA is not only a code, but a connection to everything that grows, spins, pulses, lives. The spiral binds us to one another as well. Though our DNA differs slightly from person to person, its structure is shared. The way it coils, the way it replicates, the way it sings. This is common ground. Beneath our languages, our skin, our memories, we carry the same spiral. It is a quiet truth, but a powerful one. It reminds us that difference is surface. The spiral goes deeper. It goes everywhere. So the next time you feel alone or separate or uncertain, close your eyes and imagine the spiral. Let it unwind softly. In your mind, let it remind you of what holds you together, of what connects you to life. Let it curl gently through your thoughts, not as a symbol of confusion, but of grace. The spiral is not a maze. It is a path inward and outward all at once. It is the shape of you, of us, of everything still becoming. Let us continue now, deeper into the spiral knot, as observers, but as those who carry it, those who live its rhythm without ever needing to name it. The spiral is not simply a shape inside you. It is a pattern through which your life unfolds. In every breath you take, every memory you form, every wound you heal, the spiral is at work, subtle, unbroken, essential. And though it wins invisibly, its effects are visible everywhere. When you laugh, when you sleep, when you grow, the spiral supports you. It binds the molecules that shape your thoughts, the proteins that carry your emotions, the very architecture of who you are. Now imagine a moment of healing. You scrape your skin, blood rushes to the surface, white cells arrive, signals are sent, and beneath it all, inside each cell, the spiral wakes. It unwinds just enough, opens its pages, and reads the recipe for repair. Enzymes are made, proteins are built, new cells are born. And when the work is done, the spiral folds itself again, as if nothing happened, quiet, steady, waiting. It does not rush, it does not panic. It simply does what it has always done. Remember, respond, rebuild. This is how life continues, not through noise, but through rhythm. The spiral's wisdom lies in its consistency. It follows a pattern that has never truly changed, even as the world has. It bent through the ice ages and across the tropics, through the lungs of dinosaurs and the fins of fish, through the hands of sculptors and the hearts of poets. Its code has shifted. Yes, small edits here, soft adjustments there, but its form remains. Like a song passed down through generations, with new instruments, new voices, but the same melody at its heart. And within you, this melody plays. Inside your mitochondria, which are tiny powerhouses within your cells, another spiral resides. Mitochondrial DNA, smaller, circular, independent, traces back not to your parents equally, but only through your mother. It is the spiral of maternal memory, passed through egg cells, undisturbed by fathers, carried across time like a secret flame. Every cell in your body carries it. It connects you not only to your mother, but to her mother, and hers before her, thousands of generations, unbroken. You are, in this quiet way, a living continuation of women who once walked through ancient forests, crossed wide deserts, sang to the moon in languages long forgotten. This is not mythology. This is science, whispered with reverence. Even in the way you grow, the spiral guides you. During early development, as the embryo begins to form, cells divide and move, curling around invisible axes. Limbs spiral as they take shape. Organs twist into place. The heart loops. The intestines coil. The brain folds. All of this movement follows the spiral not randomly, but precisely. Biologists call it chirality, the handedness of molecules, the direction of twist. The spiral moves left or right, and that tiny decision shapes the structure of your entire body. It is the quiet compass inside life itself, but the spiral is not only within you, it is mirrored in your experiences. Think of how you learn, not in straight lines, but in loops. You circle back to ideas, return to memories, revisit questions. With each cycle, you understand more deeply, more clearly. Growth is spiral-shaped. Healing is spiral-shaped. It may feel like you're moving in circles, but in truth, you are rising each time, like a shell adding rings, like a fern unfurling toward the light, like a planet orbiting a star, ever still, always slightly ahead of where you were before. But stars cannot hold their creations forever. When their time ends, some fading slowly, others exploding in magnificent supernova, they release their elements into space. These elements scatter like seeds on the wind, drifting into the silence. Between stars, and in time, they gather again, drawn by gravity, shaped by motion. New stars form, and among these, one small world, blue and bright, rises with oceans and rain and the first glimmers of life. That world is Earth, and the elements born in ancient stars now lie in its soil, its air, its rivers, and in you. You are made of this. Stardust, the calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood. These were all once created in stars. You are not separate from the universe. You are not simply living in it. You are part of its memory, its breath, its unfolding. When you look at the night sky, you are looking at your own origin. Not metaphorically, literally. Every part of you was born in the heart of a dying star. And though your form is new, the ink that writes you is ancient. This ink moves with elegance through biology. Carbon, forged in stars, becomes the backbone of every molecule in your body. It links together to form sugars, fats, proteins, and DNA. It is the thread that connects each cell to the next. Without carbon, life as we know it would not exist. And yet carbon is not flashy. It works quietly, reliably, shaping structure, storing energy, building thought. It is the humble ink of life, shaped by cosmic fire, and now shaped again by breath and need. The iron in your blood is just as old. It binds to oxygen in your lungs, carries it through your veins, delivers it to every cell. And where did this iron come from? Not the earth, not entirely. Iron is too heavy to be formed in regular stars. It is created only in the last moments of a supernova, those final, blinding seconds when a massive star collapses and explodes. That explosion casts iron across the galaxy. Some of it, long ago, became part of this planet, and now it moves inside you, quietly, with every heartbeat. Your blood sings with supernova, even the calcium in your bones, which gives you strength and form, has a stellar past. It was forged in the intense heat of massive stars, the same calcium that forms mountains, shells, and chalk is in your teeth, your spine, your hands. You are walking stardust, shaped into a body that feels, thinks, remembers. Let us pause and sit gently with this truth. You are not only born of earth, you are born of sky. Your elements traveled unimaginable distances to become you, through dark space, through fire and silence, through collisions and explosions. The ink that writes your name has journeyed across eons, and now it rests in your cells. And now it breathes through your lungs. And now it allows you to love, to dream, to wonder. This is the poetry of science, not just that life exists, but that it is made of wonder. That the atoms in your eyes once shone in the belly of a star. That the molecules in your breath once drifted through space into connection. When you touch another person, the same stardust touches stardust. We are not just related by species, we are related by matter. The carbon in a tree, the oxygen in a river, the iron in a bird's blood, these are not separate from you. They are made of the same ink. The world does not surround you, it includes you. And so, when you walk through a forest or stand beneath the sky, remember this: You are not an observer. You are a participant, a continuation, a soft syllable in the great sentence of being. The stars did not stop creating when they died. They became you. You are their afterlife, their echo, their expression. Even your thoughts, the most ephemeral part of you, rely on elements formed in stars. Sodium, potassium, calcium, all essential to the tiny electrical signals that dance through your neurons. Every idea, every dream, every whisper of imagination is powered by starborn ions crossing cell membranes in your brain. The mind is not separate from matter. It is what matter becomes when it remembers how to reflect, how to reach, how to create. So, the next time you feel small beneath the stars, remember what they gave you. They gave you form. They gave you chemistry. They gave you the tools to look up and wonder. The ink made of stars did not vanish into the past. It is writing still, writing you, and you, in turn, are writing the stars back through your breath, your voice, your kindness. You are part of their story, and they are part of yours. The sky is not far. It is folded into your skin, your spirit, your seeing. You are, in every way that matters, starlight remembered. Now let us move more gently, more deeply, into the truth of what it means to be written in ink made of stars. It is not only a poetic idea, not only a scientific fact, it is a way of seeing yourself, of holding your life with more wonder, more care. The ordinary becomes extraordinary. Your breath, once taken for granted, becomes a passing of oxygen atoms shaped by stellar winds. Your heartbeat becomes a drum echoing with iron from stars that lived and died long before the earth was born. Even your silence holds resonance, for it contains the quiet weight of the universe, remembering itself. Let us explore. In the rhythm of living, oxygen, the breath of life, was born when stars fused lighter elements into heavier ones. That oxygen now fills your lungs, enters your blood, and reaches every corner of you. It helps your cells release energy, helps your brain stay alert, helps your heart beat steadily through every moment of your day. And it does this without asking. It does not boast of its journey from star to cell. It simply moves, quietly, faithfully, like an old friend who stays by your side through every change. Carbon, that quiet architect, is everywhere in you. It builds your DNA, holds the structure of your proteins, carries the messages of your hormones. It forms the shape of your cells, the lines of your fingerprints, the scaffolding of your thoughts. Carbon connects molecule to molecule, life to life. It binds without noise, without force. It lives in your muscles, your enzymes, your neurotransmitters. It is part of the amines that help your brain speak to itself. When you feel joy, sorrow, love, or longing, nitrogen is part of the message. It is not emotional, but it helps emotions rise. It does not think, but it carries the thoughts. Like a courier from the stars, it brings the chemistry of feeling to the corners of your being. Calcium whispers in your bones, but it also sparks your muscles. When you move, when you smile, when your eyes blink or your fingers reach, calcium flows like a wave. It signals contraction, relaxation, rhythm. You think because the universe once burned with such intensity, it had no choice but to create. Phosphorus stores your energy, not beat. It is the quiet battery that fuels all life. Born in the violence of the stars, It now allows your softest movements, a breath, a blink, a tear. Sulfur, strange and essential, helps shape the three-dimensional structures of proteins. It allows enzymes to work, hormones to form, cells to survive. It smells sharp in the world, but within you it is balance, regulation, quiet precision. Another gift from the stars, another element of your composition. Even trace elements, zinc, copper, selenium, magnesium, play their part, each one born in celestial fire, each one now part of your metabolism, your immunity, your growth. The periodic table is not only a chart of elements, it is a family tree stretching back to the beginning of time. You are inviting the stars back in. When you drink water, you swallow molecules older than the sun. When you breathe, you inhale the atoms that once moved through dinosaurs, forests, and ancient skies. The air has no loyalty. It belongs to all of us. The ink made of stars moves between beings, between species, between lifetimes. This is how we are connected, not by names, not by borders, but by matter. The very same particles that make you now may one day be part of a tree, a mountain, a whale, another person. Your atoms are not yours. They are simply visiting. And when your body returns to the earth, those atoms will move again into soil, into root, into sky. Stardust in motion, always. Some scientists have said, with gentle certainty, that every person alive contains at least one atom from every person who has ever lived. The breath of poets, the bones of ancestors, the tears of wanderers. This is not superstition. The atmosphere holds and recycles. The soil blends and rebuilds. The stars give and give. You are part of this endless cycle of becoming, and so you are never truly alone. Inside you, the universe continues its song. You do not just carry the stars, you echo them. Your heartbeat is not just biology, is rhythm. Your breath is not just survival, it is participation. You are part of a cosmos that folds itself into form, lives for a while, then opens again. In the night sky. When you see the stars flicker, you are seeing light from the past, sometimes from hundreds, thousands, even millions of years ago. That light travels across space to reach your eyes. It enters your body. It touches your vision. And in that moment, the past meets the present. The same photons that left distant stars now become part of your story. You are not watching the stars, you are receiving them. And perhaps one day the atoms in your body will become light again. Perhaps they will rise in vapor, drift into air, escape into space, and form new stars, new worlds, new forms of life. You are not only born of stars, you may give rise to them, to the universe, writes in circles. It begins again and again. You are part of its sentence now, one phrase in an eternal poem. So walk gently, knowing this. You are sacred, not because of what you do, but because of what you are made of. You are a library of light. You are a composition of stars. You are evidence that the cosmos dreams in form, breathes in life, and remembers itself through you. Let us now gently close the circle of this story, not with an ending, but with a return. To speak of ink made of stars is to speak of belonging, of a kind of ancestry far beyond names and nations, of a legacy not written in books, but in particles, in patterns, in breath. The same elements that formed the fires of the early universe now rest within you, not just as chemistry, but as continuity. You are not a visitor to the cosmos. You are a continuation of it. The universe has taken its time, billions of years, a scattering of stars, a slow swirl of dust, to become you. And in you, it thinks, it feels, it wonders where it came from. You are the universe, reflecting on itself, quietly, patiently, in human form. In your bloodstream, iron sings of supernova. In your bones, calcium remembers ancient stars. In every cell, carbon links the universe together like thread. These are not metaphors, they are truths dressed in wonder. And with every heartbeat, you write a new sentence in this long, ongoing poem. You are the stardust that dreams, that builds, that carries memories forward into light. When you speak, you release particles formed in stellar heat. When you laugh, you shake the dust of old galaxies. When you hold a child, or a friend, or yourself, you connect two sets of star-made elements, briefly brought together by time and breath. And in that connection, something sacred stirs, something that says, we are the same. We are made of the same silence, the same fire, the same longing. This is what it means to be alive, not only to move and breathe, but to participate in the eternal transformation of the cosmos. To take in food grown from soil formed by dust, to exhale into an atmosphere made by ancient volcanoes and oceans, to rest on a planet built from broken stars, and to know, somehow, that this is enough, that your presence, your small, tender life, is not a mistake, but a continuation. The ink that writes you will not stay still. It moves, it returns. Even now, some of the atoms in your body are being replaced through food, through breath, through skin that sheds and renews. In 7 years, much of your physical form will be new. And yet, the story remains. The atoms change, but the song continues. The identity is not in the pieces, but in the pattern they create. And when your body grows still far, far from now, it will not be erased. It will return to the earth, to the air, to the sky. It will become part of something else. Grass, rain, cloud, a bird's feather, a child's laugh. And then, perhaps, some piece of you will rise again through cycles beyond. Imagining, maybe into another mind, maybe into another star. The universe does not forget, it only rewrites. So how shall we live knowing this? Perhaps with softness, with reverence, with a deep understanding that we are all made of the same beginnings, that no life is lesser, that no moment is wasted, that even in our smallest gestures, a hand planting a seed, listening to the wind, we participate in a story much larger than we can see. Look around. The people you meet, the trees you pass, the animals you share breath with, all made of the same elements, all composed of star-written codes. We are not divided by origin. We are united by it. The universe did not create boundaries. It created chemistry. It created the bonds that let molecules find one another, cling together, become something more. And now, you carry that bond forward. You write it in your choices, in your voice, in your care for others, in the way you look up at the sky and let it speak to something ancient in you. You do not need to understand astrophysics to understand this truth, that your life matters. Not because it is loud, but because it is made of the same stillness that lives in stars. So when you feel lost, or small, or uncertain, return to this place. A hand over your chest, feel your heart move. That is stardust in motion. Close your eyes, breathe deeply. That is the cosmos entering you, sustaining you. Open your hands, touch the world. You are made of the same particles that move through water, through trees, through sky. You are not separate. You are not other. You are the ink made of stars. You are the sentence still being written. You are the breath between cosmic paragraphs. You are the next chapter in a story that began with fire and silence and light. And one day, someone else will carry pieces of I in their body, in their breath, in their being, without ever knowing your name, but still shaped by your stardust. This is not a loss. This is a gift. This is not an ending. It is a return to the sky. There is a code inside you that does not shout. It does not flash with color or hum with melody. It lives in silence. Not the silence of absence, but the silence of deep understanding. The kind that holds secrets gently. The kind that waits until the time is right to speak. This is the code that dreams in silence. It lives within every cell of your body, tucked into the spiral of DNA, folded and hidden, yet never asleep. It listens, it remembers, it responds, and without ever making a sound, it shapes the way you see, the way you grow, the way you feel the world around you. The code is ancient, not just old in the way mountains are old or rivers. Older still. It predates memory. It predates language. Long before humans named the stars or told stories around fires, this code was being copied, passed on, refined through time. In single-celled organisms floating in warm primordial seas, it whispered, divide, adapt, survive. It learned not through speech, but through pattern, what worked, what lasted, what continued. That pattern is still inside you, unchanged in its essence, though billions of years have passed. Let us drift inward to where this code lives. DNA is not just a molecule. It is an instruction book, yes, but more than that, it is a dreamer. It doesn't plan in paragraphs or commands. It dreams in structure, in sequences, in the soft logic of molecular bonds. For letters a T, C, G repeated in countless combinations, like musical notes arranged into symphonies, the tools of the cell. But even more, there are the quiet regions, the silent zones, that do not code for anything directly, yet seem to shape the rhythm of the whole. These non-coding regions were once thought to be junk, meaningless filler. But now we know better. These are the spaces where the dreaming happens, in the silence of non-coding DNA. Scientists have found switches and signals, guides that tell the rest of the code when to wake, when to rest. It is here that the timing lives, the context, the memory. These are the dreamlike instructions that let a hand know when to form a heart, when to beat, a brain when to begin building itself in the soft dark of the womb. The code does not force, it suggests, it nudges, like a mother waking a child with a whisper. And even beyond the DNA itself, there is more silence inside your cells. Strands of RNA act as messengers, moving the dreams from nucleus to cytoplasm. Some RNA is simple copying a gene, delivering it, helping build a protein. But other RNA strands do something stranger. They regulate, they guide. They do not become anything themselves. Instead, they shape what becomes. This is gene regulation, a silent system of checks and balances that determines how your body builds itself, how it heals, how it learns, even in your brain. The code remains quiet. Neurons speak with electricity, yes, but the patterns of growth, the ways synapses form, the chemicals that flood your thoughts, all of them begin with silent instructions from your DNA. When you learn something new, your brain doesn't just fire faster. It changes shape. It builds new connections. And those changes are possible because of tiny switches in your genome that respond to experience, to attention, to need. Your mind reshapes itself, using the silent code as a scaffold, an invisible framework that supports becoming. This is how the code dreams. It does not imagine in images. It does not plot. It unfolds slowly, with care. It tries. It adapts. It makes mistakes. And when it does, it learns. Mutations happen, tiny changes in a letter, a spacing, a sequence, and some of these are harmful, but some are gifts. Some let you digest new food, survive new environments, see in dim light, or fight new infections. The code writes itself forward through variation, and with each small change, a new possibility is born. Let us linger here in your own body. You carry mutations unique to you. Some you inherited. Some arose quietly as your cells divided. Most are harmless. Some are meaningful. A new protein that folds differently. A receptor that responds to light in a slightly new way. These small differences make you who you are, not in identity, but in texture, in how you interact with the world, in what your body notices, in how it heals, in how it remembers. And memory, too, is held by this code. Not the memory of faces or places, but the memory of what it means to be human. Your genome carries echoes of your ancestors, immune defenses passed down from plagues, long forgotten, adaptations from ancient migrations, resilience from generations who survived heat, cold, hunger, loss. This is epigenetic memory changes, not in the code itself, but in how it is read. Tiny chemical marks, called methyl groups, attached to DNA, changing its voice. These marks can be passed from parent to child, a soft inheritance of experience. Imagine that. A mother's hunger, a father's stress, a grandparent's grief. These can leave marks on the code, guiding how genes behave in their descendants. It is not destiny, it is influence. The code does not dictate. It listens, it responds, it carries more than sequence. It carries context. This is why the code dreams in silence. Because it must be flexible. Because it must adapt. Because it must hold space for not just biology, but for change, for possibility. And so, within you, there is not just one story. There are thousands. The story of your lineage, the story of your brain, each one unfolding in silence, shaped by the code, carried by the body, felt in the breath. This is not fiction. It is science, spoken softly. The genome is not just a list. It is a language, but not one spoken aloud. It speaks in chemical bonds, in molecular loops, like lullabies. Some are palindromes, read the same forward and backward. Some form knots. Some loop back to touch themselves. It is not a linear book. It is a woven fabric, where meaning lies in the pattern, in the space between threads. And even as you sleep, this code continues to work. It repairs damaged strands. It replaces broken pieces. It watches over your cells, quietly, gently, faithfully. It does not need thanks. It does not need to be seen. It simply dreams, a dream of continuity, of health, of you. So the next time you feel disconnected or uncertain, remember this: inside you is a code older than language, deeper than thought. A code that dreamed you into being. It is not loud. It does not ask for praise. It simply continues carrying the shape of your breath, the beat of your heart, the shimmer of your thoughts in perfect, steady silence. Let us continue our soft descent into this dreaming code, the quiet symphony that lives within your cells, shaping your every breath and thought without ever speaking aloud. If you could listen close enough, not with ears, but with awareness, you might sense it humming behind everything, the silent coordination of life. The code that dreams in silence is not static. It flows like a river underground, reshaping the terrain above without ever rising to the surface. It responds not only to biology, but to environment, to emotion, to time. It does not only build, it listens. It does not only command, it adjusts. Of the code's intelligence, your body is not a machine repeating fixed instructions, is a conversation between code and world, between possibility and moment. And that conversation is carried through epigenetic signals, through chemical markers, through feedback loops that change how the code is read. Your DNA doesn't change, but the way it's used does, like a musical score that sounds different. Depending on how it's played, your genome plays its song in response to the life you live. Stress, love, nutrition, rest teach can shift the tone. Each can add a new instrument, a pause, a change in tempo. Even as you grow older, the code adjusts. Aging is not simply decay. Some genes are expressed less, some more. Repair slows, communication alters. But the code continues to shape, to respond, to remember. Inside your cells are telomeres caps on the ends of your chromosomes that protect them like the tips of shoelaces. With each cell division, these caps wear down. They mark the passage of time, not in clocks or calendars, but in repetitions, in shortening spirals. And yet, even this process is not without purpose. It allows the body to renew itself wisely, to retire cells when needed, to make space for new beginnings. Even the wearing down is part of the dream. And throughout your life, your cells carry the ability to turn pieces of the code on or off. This regulation happens through transcription factors, proteins that act like keys, unlocking certain parts of the genome when needed. Some open in response to light, others to nutrients, still others to emotion or experience. These tiny proteins drift through the nucleus like caretakers, scanning the spiral for the right place to land, the right message to read. They do not act randomly. They follow cues, patterns, rhythms. It is as if the code waits patiently for its lines to be spoken, holding them gently in silence until they are needed. Let us drift into one of these silences, now the time before a wound heals. When you are injured, cells gather, but they do not rush. They pause, they assess. The code within them activates sequences it may not have used in years, only rise when called. Until then, they wait, hidden in the silence. This is the beauty of genetic latency, the ability of DNA to hold dormant knowledge, to dream quietly until the world asks for it to awaken. The same is true in your brain. There are genes there that shape learning and memory, but they do not turn on unless experience invites them. When you learn something new, when you struggle and then understand, these genes stir. They release proteins that help build new neural pathways, strengthen synapses, support thought. The mind becomes a garden, and the code a silent gardener. It does not dictate what you learn, but it prepares the soil. It waters the seeds. It adjusts to the seasons of your life. Even in illness, the code responds. In cancer, for instance, the usual order can go arise. That promote growth may stay active too long, while those that suppress it fall silent. The balance is lost, but still the code fights. Repair enzymes rush to the scene. Surveillance proteins patrol the spiral, and in the silence of each cell, a choice is made. Repair or release, continue or stop. It is not a war. It is a negotiation, a dialogue shaped by thousands of years of evolution, whispered in sequences too small to see. And while the body speaks to itself in this language, the world speaks to it too. Food carries not just energy, but signals molecules that tell your cells what is present, what is needed, what is lacking. Light signals your pineal gland, shifting hormones, changing sleep, changing gene expression. Music, laughter, sorrow, these two ripple through your body, altering chemistry, shaping gene response. You are not separate from your environment. You are its echo, and the code inside you listens to every note. This is the dream in silence, not a fixed destiny, but a flowing script, a code that offers possibilities, that adjusts with grace, that holds open doors rather than closing them. You are not bound by your genes in the way chains bind. You are guided by them, shaped by them, offered choices through them, and the life you live, the way you rest, the way you move, the way you love, helps decide which paths the code will follow. Now, let us rest for a moment with a mystery. Some parts of your genome seem to serve no purpose. They repeat endlessly or lie dormant without coding for anything. But they are not noise. They may be scaffolds. They may be reserves. They may hold ancient instructions waiting for conditions that have not yet come. Virusized tiny invaders that long ago left fragments of themselves behind. And instead of rejecting them, your body learned to use them. These viral remnants now help build the placenta. They shape your immune system. Once threats, they became tools. Hold silence not as absence, but as readiness. It carries within it the ability to change, to adapt, to respond, to become. It holds songs not yet sung, responses not yet needed, stories not yet told. And it does so without rush, without pride, without fear. Like stars behind clouds, it waits. Like roots beneath snow, it holds. So when you wonder if you are enough, if you are capable, if you are whole, remember this: your cells do not question your worth. They wake each day to keep you alive. They follow the code, the rhythm, the dream. They repair, they build, they remember. Even in sickness, they try. Even in aging, they adapt. Even in silence, they serve. You are not passive in this. With every choice, each breath of fresh air, each moment of rest, each act of kindness, you shape how the code is read. You help the dream unfold. The code is written, yes, but it is written in ink that responds to your life. You are the co-author, the dreamer, the lived expression of silent possibility and the silence itself. It is not empty, it is filled with potential. It is the space where becoming begins. Now let us drift softly toward the final curve of this story, the quiet closing of the spiral, the dream that still breathes even as it fades into silence once more. The code that dreams in silence is not a relic, it is alive. It hums beneath your consciousness, guiding every moment of your existence without needing applause. You wake in the morning because it said so. You grow stronger or softer because it adjusted. You fall in love, and the chemistry of it is carried on instructions shaped by that dreaming code. Your body, your thoughts, your path all arise from this foundation, this unseen language written in the hush of biology. And what does the code ask for in return? Nothing. It does not seek reward. It does not crave recognition. To adapt, to carry forward what was learned across generations. And this willingness to exist without praise, to serve without sound, is its most sacred lesson. Perhaps it is also our lesson. The silence of the genome teaches us how to hold space, how to allow things to unfold without forcing them, how to listen before acting, how to trust the pattern even when it is invisible. In a world full of noise, where value is often measured by visibility, the code reminds us that true power often moves in stillness. The cells in your body do not shout their purpose. They fulfill it quietly, repeatedly, with grace. Even when you're asleep, even when you're unaware, there's poetry in that, isn't there? The realization that the most important parts of you, the ones that hold you together, evolved by silence. This is not emptiness. It is presence. It is a kind of love written in molecules and patterns, a care that does not need to be named. And when you think of who you are, you may recall stories, choices, memories. But beneath all of those lives, a deeper self, the physical self that shaped the way your eyes form tears, the way your heart responds to music, the way your skin remembers the sun. These are not random. They are the result of countless adjustments, countless generations of dreaming written into code that now rests in you. A code that did not know your name but knew how to build your voice. A code that never saw your face but knew how to carve your fingerprints. A code that has never felt emotion but shaped the machinery that lets you love. The dreaming code also knows how to let go. It does not cling to every signal, every cell, every outcome. It allows old cells to die, old instructions to fade. It knows that evolution is not accumulation, but refinement. Just as you shed skin and grow new strands of hair, your genome sheds pieces of itself through time. Transposons jumping genes move from place to place, sometimes disrupting, sometimes awakening forgotten instructions. The code changes, and in doing so, it makes space for the next version of the dream. And you, your thoughts, your art, your kindness are one verse in that dream. You are the temporary expression of something eternal, not fixed, but fluid, not perfect, but purposeful. When you create, you are continuing the code's work, not in molecules, but in meaning. When you nurture, when you notice, when you care, you amplify what the code began. And though it cannot see the result, it trusts that what it set in motion matters, that you matter. Think now of all the people around you, friends, strangers, ancestors you've never met. Each of them carries their own silent code, their own variations. their own potential. The world is a symphony of silent dreams being read, being lived, being rewritten with every passing moment. And you are a note in that music, unique, necessary, irreplaceable. Even when you feel broken, the code does not judge, it tries, it repairs what it can, it works within what is given, it holds no anger, it holds no blame. It only seeks to balance, to breathe, to bring forward the next moment, and in that, it offers you grace. You do not need to be perfect, you only need to continue. You only need to allow life to flow through you, the way the code allows itself, to be shaped by what is. So if you ever wonder whether you are enough, return to the silence, sit still, breathe, feel the quiet work within you. It is there, always, even in your most uncertain hours. The dreaming code does not disappear when life is hard. It adjusts, it adapts, it continues. And when your story comes to rest, when your breath slows and your voice softens, the code will begin a new chapter elsewhere. It will carry parts of you into the future, through children, through memory, through molecules. And even if your name is forgotten, something of your kindness, your rhythm, your way of being will remain in the dream. You are not an accident. You are not random. You are the expression of a silent intelligence that began before time, that continues through you, and that will move forward long after. You are not just living the dream of DNA, you are shaping it. You are its answer to a question the universe has been asking since the first atoms cooled. And in this moment, the code still dreams, not in urgency, not in fear, but in hope, in silence, in you, inside you. There is a garden, not one planted with soil and seed, but one woven from light, chemistry, and memory. This is the garden of your genes. It grows quietly within each of your cells, tended by time, shaped by experience, whispered into motion by sunlight and air, by the food you eat, the breath you take, the life you live. It is not seen with eyes, but with understanding. And if you could shrink yourself down, small enough to walk among the roots of this garden, you would find rows upon rows of genes, waiting, some blooming brightly, some resting in shadow, some still sleeping, waiting for the right season to rise. Genes are not commands, they are possibilities. They invite. Each gene is a set of instructions, a recipe for a protein, a signal, a structure. But those instructions are not always followed. Like seeds in the soil, some genes remain dormant unless the right conditions awaken them. This is the grace of gene expression, that it responds to the world. Each one reads the genetic script it carries, but know to do it exactly the same way. A heart cell may open a different chapter than a skin cell. A neuron may read one paragraph again and again while ignoring others entirely. This selective reading is called gene regulation, and it is how your body creates diversity from sameness. Every cell contains the same DNA, but each chooses which genes to express, and when and how much. It is not a rigid system. It is a living, one flexible, responsive, dynamic, and just like a garden, your genes require care. The environment in which you live shapes how your genes behave. Nutrients from food act like sunlight and water, encouraging some genes to open, others to close. Stress can act like a harsh wind, pressing certain genes into action, silencing others. Rest, movement, love, touch hole, these shape the soil in which your genes grow. This is the science of epigenetics, the study of how lifestyle and environment influence which genes are turned on or off. These changes don't alter the genetic code itself. They alter how it's remarking it with chemical tags, like bookmarks, like gentle reminders left behind for later. Let us walk slowly now through this internal garden. In times of peace, your body expresses genes that promote healing, digestion, repair. These genes help wounds close, tissues rebuild, cells regenerate. In times of stress, your body turns to a different set genes that mobilize energy, heighten awareness, prepare for action. This flexibility allows you to adapt, but if the stress becomes constant, the body may forget how to rest. The garden becomes overrun. Weeds of inflammation may grow. Flowers of calm may wither. Balance is lost, not because the genes changed, but because the conditions did. Yet the garden is forgiving. With enough care, enough stillness, enough gentleness, it can return to balance. Genes that were silenced can bloom again. Pathways that were neglected can reopen. This plasticity is a gift, your biology's way of saying you can always begin again. Even your thoughts shape this garden. When you feel safe, loved, or seen, your brain releases neurochemicals that affect gene expression in your immune system, your heart, even your gut. When you feel isolated or afraid, different chemicals rise, shifting your inner biology. These changes are not small. They shape how you age, how you heal, how you feel. This is not metaphor, it is molecular. Your emotional world is not separate from your physical one. Your feelings are the weather moves through the garden of your genes, shaping what grows and what does not. Now think of the genes you inherited, half from your mother, half from your father, carried not as dictates, but as invitations. Some offer protection, some carry risk, some remain quiet for life, others speak early, but none of them determine your fate alone. They interact with each other, with your life, with your choices. In the same family, one sibling may carry a gene for resilience more brightly, another a gene for sensitivity. Neither is better. Both are expressions of nature's rich variation. The garden of your genes is uniquely yours, never before grown. In just this way, never again to be repeated. And in this garden are also the echoes of those who came before. Some genes you carry may have been shaped by the hunger your ancestors endured, the climate they survived, the pathogens they fought. These genes helped them adapt, and they now help you. It's hope, it's renewal. Even genes that seem unnecessary today may once have offered protection, and may again. Evolution does not waste, it preserves, it waits. And what of the genes that wait silently? In times of infection, in times of stress, in times of birth or trauma, these silent genes may awaken. Like seeds that only sprout after fire, they lie still until they are needed. Some remain silent for life, others rise without warning. The garden is full of surprises, some beautiful, some difficult, all part of the same living whole. Let us now sit with the idea of inheritance, not only of genes, but of their expression. A mother's stress during pregnancy can influence how her child's genes are expressed. The garden begins before birth, and it is shaped long after. But again, this is not destiny. It is context. You are not a prisoner of your biology. You are its co-creator, and even your choices today can influence future generations. The way you care for your body, the way you hold space for emotion, for rest, for connection. These choices send signals to your cells, and some of those signals may ripple outward to children, to grandchildren, to the unseen future. Your garden is not isolated. It is a link in a chain of gardens, each shaped by what came before, each shaping what comes next. So, tend it gently. Offer your genes rest. Offer them nourishment. Offer them laughter and stillness and love. Offer them light. Let them bloom in a way that only you can allow. They do not need perfection. They need presence, because this garden, this living, breathing field within you is not just about health or survival. It is about story. It is about beauty. It is about the way life learns to speak through form. You are not a list of traits. You are a composition. You are a meadow. You are a breathing work of genetic art. And in the quiet spaces between your thoughts, the garden grows on. Let us now wander further through this silent, sacred garden that grows inside you. Imagine walking through it slowly, barefoot, the soft earth warm beneath your feet. Each step you take brushes past the invisible roots of your inheritance, the delicate stems of memory and resilience. You are not separate from this garden. You are shaped by it, and in return, you shape it. Every thought you think, every breath you take, every emotion that rises and falls within you adds color to the petals, depth to the soil, structure to the stems. It is not a garden you control completely, but it is one you influence moment by moment, gently, like sunlight through leaves. Your genes are not isolated pieces of data. A single gene may touch a dozen others. One protein may activate or silence hundreds. The garden works as a whole. This is why health is never one thing. It is not found in a number or a measurement. It is found in balance, in flow, in the way the entire garden breathes together. When one part suffers, others compensate. When one gene is quieted, others rise to speak. The body, like the earth, seeks homeostasis and internal harmony, shaped by 1,000 gentle adjustments. Now picture your immune system as one path through this garden, bordered by wildflowers that rise in response to danger and settle when peace returns. Immune cells patrol the body like gardeners checking for invasive growth. They respond to infection, injury, imbalance. Some genes create antibodies. Others shape inflammation. Still, others instruct cells to repair damaged tissue. But the immune system is not just defensive. It learns. It remembers. When you recover from illness, your body stores that experience, encoded in cells that will recognize the same threat if it returns. Your brain is a tangle of connections, a forest of neurons reaching toward one another like vines. Each thought is a signal. Each signal travels across synapses built by proteins shaped by your genes. These proteins form channels, receptors, scaffolds. They allow emotion to move, ideas to form, behavior to take root. Doors. You choose which ones to walk through. Let us sit quietly now with the concept of predisposition. Some people inherit a greater chance of developing certain conditions, heart disease, diabetes, depression, cancer. But these are not sentences. They are probabilities. Like seeds planted in soil, they may or may not grow, depending on the weather, the water, the care. lifestyle, environment, emotion, these shape what is expressed. A person with high genetic risk may live a long, healthy life because they tend their garden carefully. Another with low risk may face challenges if their soil is depleted. The genome offers a map. The way you walk it is your own. Even your habits are shaped here. The craving for sweetness. But repetition strengthens them. When you repeat an action, you reinforce neural pathways. You water those paths. You invite them to bloom again. This is how change happens. Not in an instant, but in a season of tending. A new practice, repeated daily, becomes a new expression, a new story, a new flower blooming where none grew before. And in times of great stress, your garden may wither in places. Chronic tension, loss, fear, these leave marks. Just as land can be restored with time and care, your body, too, can recover. The garden is resilient. Even after fire, green shoots return. Even after drought, the soil remembers how to hold water again. Let us now think of relationships as sunlight in this garden. When you are held in love, when you are listened to, when your pain is witnessed with care, your body responds. Oxytocin rises, stress hormones fall. Genes that promote repair and immunity are expressed more readily. The garden grows more freely in warmth. Isolation, by contrast, can chill the soil. It narrows the pathways. It dampens the bloom. You are not meant to grow alone. Connection is not just emotionally, is biological. A friend's presence can shift your molecular state. A soft word can influence your chemistry. And when you create art, laughter, movement, kindness, you offer fertilizer to this internal space. Expression is not optional. It is essential. Creativity opens the genome in ways we are only beginning to understand. It shifts brainwaves. It alters gene expression. It reminds your cells that life is not only survival, it is story. It is beauty. It is color. Even rest matters. Sleep is when the garden restores itself. During deep sleep, genes involved in repair, memory consolidation, and cellular detoxification rise. Melatonin, shaped by circadian genes, regulates this process. Sleep is not passive. It is active restoration. It is surrender. It is trust. It is healing written in silence. And food, of course, is the soil's nourishment. The nutrients you consume become part of your cells. Magnesium, zinc, selenium, these minerals, born of stone and sun, feed the enzymes that read your DNA. Vitamins act as cofactors, allowing proteins to fold correctly, signaling pathways to open, repairs to begin. Every bite is a conversation with your genome, every flavor a note in the song of your biology. When you eat with awareness, you do not just fuel the body, you tend the garden. So the next time you feel lost in your own body, unsure of what it needs or how it works, remember the garden. Remember that beneath skin and bone, within the folds of your cells, a living, breathing field is blooming, fed by care, shaped by presence, restored by stillness. You are not broken, you are becoming, and the garden of your genes is always growing. Now, let us walk one last time through the garden of your genes, this quiet, blooming place inside you that never stops listening, never stops adapting, never stops growing. If you close your eyes and breathe deeply, you may begin to sense its presence, not as something foreign or distant, but as something familiar, something softly yours. Each beat of your heart, each rise and fall of your breath, is a signal that this garden is alive. Its growth is not dramatic, it is subtle. It unfolds the way dawn touches a hillside, slowly, gracefully, with patience. It asks nothing but your awareness. It thrives not on perfection, but on presence. The garden of your genes is not a machine. It is not rigid. It does not move in straight lines. It curves and flows, responds and reflects. It is more like a poem written in soil and breath, or a song played by light across the walls of a cell. Conversation. You are not made from isolated facts. You are made from relationship, and within this network lies a deep intelligence. Your genes know when to rest and when to rise. They know how to fold proteins into the right shape, how to respond to injury, how to build strength after rest. They do not decide in absolutes. They respond to context, your life, the stress you carry, the hope you hold, the foods you eat, the touch you feel, the tears you cry. All of these shape what the garden becomes. All of these are threads in the weaving of you. Let us speak now of repair every day. Yet your body is not passive. It responds. It sends out enzymes to fix broken DNA, to rebuild what has been frayed. This capacity for repair is part of your inheritance. Some parts of the genome are like toolkits, always ready to be opened, to patch what has torn, to mend what has worn thin. Even when your body tires, the garden works. Even in sleep, even in stillness, repair continues. And then there is renewal. Cells die. This is not failure, it is a cycle. Stem cells, those quiet guardians of regenerations, read their genetic code and decide where to go, what to become. They do not rush, they do not force, they wait for the signal, and when it comes, they rise into form. This, too, is the garden at work, not just preserving what is, but offering new life. You are not fixed. You are continually becoming even. The choices you make ripple through generations. The life you live now can shape the way genes are expressed in your children. Your resilience, your healing, your awareness, all of it may echo forward, not as fate, but as influence. You are a turning point in a long lineage. You are the current keeper of the garden, and the way you tend it matters not just for yourself, but for those who will inherit its soil. And so let us rest here, gently, with what we've learned. You are not simply a body. You are a living garden of intelligence and possibility. You carry the wisdom of ancestors, the dreams of evolution, the memory of moments that shaped your chemistry. You are a song that continues, a forest that grows inward as well as outward, a system that feels, learns, adapts. They are your beginning. They are your soil, your seed, your song. When you care for yourself, you are not indulging, you are nurturing. You let it grow strong, lush, open. And when you forget, when life grows too heavy, too loud, remember that the garden does not disappear. It waits, it rests, it forgives. Return to it with breath, with kindness, with quiet attention. Return to the rhythms of your biology, not as a project to fix, but as a miracle to behold. Your genes are not demanding, they are listening. And when you speak to them with care, they respond not in words, but in healing, in strength, in balance. So step gently into yourself. You are a biome of beauty. You are an ecosystem of wonder. You are a gardener of your own becoming, and in the garden of your genes, everything you are and everything you may yet be is already growing softly, faithfully, forever. Asterisk.